fellow classic TV fans, and welcome to Retro TV Radio. I'm your host, Pat McCormack. If you're a fan of classic television, and more specifically, classic sci-fi, then it's pretty much a given you know the name Marta Kristen. Portraying Judy Robinson in Lost in Space, Marta is nothing short of a living legend who has thrilled fans while making young men swoon for decades. We, of course, discuss her time on the sci-fi TV classic, but also about the fact that she appeared in quite a few other iconic series as well. And we also cover everything that she has going on today. Having met her briefly at a fan event a few years back, I can tell you that she is still as gorgeous as ever. But what I learned from this interview was that Marta's beauty is not just skin deep. Enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podcast the iconic Marta Kristen. Hello, Marta.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. We're not underwater here.
Underwater or underground? Those are the two things we don't want to be.
Exactly right. Or have a tree blow over on us, which is...
Right. Oh, yeah, that too. That too. One of those disasters.
Yes, I'm eyeing that right now. It's like, okay, be good, tree. Be very good. But, you know, Californians here, we've taken the brunt of it, people. You don't know our problems, our suffering. I know. And most folks are like, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I grew up in Michigan, and I remember the ice storms that they're having now. As a young person, I was happy about it. No school, I could put on my ice skates and skate everywhere and all the streets and go to my friends' houses, and we would skate. And I mean, how fun is that for a kid? But for parents, it's a whole nother ballgame.
Well, as a Californian, never got a snow day. We never got one.
Oh, now we have one. Yes,
it's true. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you for joining me. I want to give a quick shout out to our mutual friend, Doug Hartline. He is just such a great guy. And
he's a wonderful man.
He connected us, and he obviously said, Marta, you can trust this guy, I think.
That's right. No, he didn't. Did he say that?
No, I don't think he did.
He said, oh, no, not him.
I hadn't mailed the check yet, so it's like, yeah, Doug. The irony of this is that we've been good friends, like many people that I've gotten to know, being an enthusiast of the nostalgic television and which there are a lot of us. I made friends with him, and the strangest thing is we've never met in person.
Really?
That's the thing. I have these close ties with these people that, we're creative. And of course, this day and age, you just don't have to be living next to, you don't have to drive to each other. You've got all this modern technology that can keep us in touch with each other. And it's just one of those friendships that I developed.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I've never met him. Have I? I don't. Maybe.
Well, I'm going to say I think you have. Here's why.
No, of course, we met at a convention, yes.
Yes,
that's right.
And it was the convention where I met you, which was very brief.
Oh, my gosh. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I actually texted you a picture of that so you could put a face to the voice here. There was a Hollywood show down by the airport.
Yes, now I remember. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Pre-pandemic.
Yes. Right, pre-pandemic, yes. Those are always good shows. I enjoyed doing those. Met a lot of interesting people, and even the last one, it was just post-pandemic, and it was, there were like 3 people there, and many more celebrities, and there were, fans, and so I got to talk to all these, wonderful people who were just, hilarious, and. We were all saying how much we enjoyed each other's company.
Well, it does look like it's a great get-together for, these past colleagues and people that, were working and at the time. And, of course, you can share so much in that way with these fellow peers of yours. It's like, who needs the fans?
Well, we do, actually. The fans are who make us, and we all know that. So, but it was interesting. It took a while for the pandemic to, for people, not to be afraid of going out and connecting with others. It was, we were all coming out of this isolation. It was so bizarre. It was such a difficult time for everyone. And the loneliness, I think, for me was the hardest thing to go through. And because I had lost my husband and I hadn't lost him, he had passed. And it's interesting to how, the language you use about someone who has died and it's passed, lost, right. Transitioned.
Moved on.
And moved on.
Right.
That's usually divorce, but anyway. But so, I was still I'm in mourning, but it softens. The grief softens as time passes. And what is it? Thomas Merton says that memories that were once thorns become something that you eventually can smile about and find joy in, and there's truth to that.
Sure. And of course, even better truth is, and realize it when you got it, rather than rely on memories that coulda, shoulda, woulda,
Yeah.
That's something my wife and I have taken into our heart. It's just like, we need to enjoy every second of this right now. We're both starting our third act, and it's like, okay.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
We need to make some memories.
Right.
And she's like, did you just say you were taking me to Italy? Is that what you just said? I'm like,
Oh, yes. Italy. Portugal.
Well, again, okay, who am I talking to? I'm talking to Marta Kristen, and people who know me as a classic television enthusiast know where it all began. How did Pat get so into this stuff? And I could narrow it down to a genre, which was the sci-fi. I had older brothers and an older sister, so I was exposed to a lot of the great, early TV shows. And, there was The Outer Limits, The Twilight Zone, and Star Trek, all had a big impact on me. And then there was this other show. Lost in Space.
Well, I appreciate that. And yes, Lost in Space. I loved A Twilight Zone and Outer Limits. Those were my two favorite shows. And Star Trek came a year after us. But Outer Limits and Twilight Zone, I always had liked a darker material in sci-fi. I enjoyed character material, and that's what Twilight Zone and Outer Limits gave. Lost in Space, on the other hand, was it's this wonderful. It had a twinkle to it, if I can say that. I've never described it as that, but it had this. Well, the first year, it was serious, and it became, it morphed into something else later on, which was okay. But it was about family, and that I was adopted when I was 5 from Norway, and so as a child, an orphan, what you desire most is family, and there was such a sweetness about. The idea of the small group of going up into space with, of course, the hunk pilot, Crash West, we called him. But I don't know. There was something so tender about so much of our show. Even though, it got a little crazy at the end and quirky, it still remained tender. And, kids, even though they got scared of the monsters and which every child wants to be frightened of, it would be resolved at the end of our show, and they would be, the family would be saved by, one of us, or, by the kindness of some strange alien. And so, I think that's what set us apart from all these other shows that were on that were sci-fi or sci-fantasy. And of course, I loved Star Trek, because Star Trek was always fun to watch, and it sort of broke the glass ceiling for minorities, and
Right.
and that was that was great. I mean, I grew up in a family that there were no barriers. Love is love, and my father always said that eventually, we'll all be one. Yeah, maybe that was his. He was professor of philosophy, and that was his ideal. That we all look at each other as we're one. So going out to space and seeing all these monsters, I thought, hey, Dad, are we one with them?
All made of the same material,
All made of the same material. That's right. That's right. Oh, that's a good point. I love that.
Well, again, the show started off, as you said, as serious. It was a major adventure show, and yeah, some of those monsters scared me. Especially the ones that made the sounds. It's like, oh no, that's not good for me. Irwin knew how to really do the sound effect thing, make that a part of it. But my God,
well, Irwin himself. The reason these shows that he put on did so well was that there was a part of him that was a boy, a child in him that, he loved to come on the set, and we would have to be in the chariot, for instance, the vehicle in which we traveled on land, and we would be in storms, or we'd be in dust storms, or rainstorms, or lightning storms,
heat waves,
and we'd be traveling in the chariot, and Irwin would come down, and he would take a big metal trash can and like a hammer, and every time we would be jostled in the chariot, he would take the hammer and hit the metal basket, and we would go to one side and then to the other side. And I knew we were all having fun, but he was having the most fun. We were on a gimbal,
Right.
and we had so much fun filming the show. I'm sure you could see it in how we were reacting and to each other and to the circumstances. We were all just had so much joy in doing the show. Even the mothers of the kids, they would sit on the opposite sides of the stage, but I think eventually they became friends. But there's always that that element of the stage mother. Billy and Angela were so strong and had been in the business for so long that there was never that that kind of jealousy between them. They adored each other. And in fact, they even dated after the show when they got older.
And still do. So, well, I don't know. They don't date anymore.
Well, they don't date, but they're good friends, very good friends. Write books together. And
yeah, that's wonderful. And again, it was just great. I mean, I say it was just great. Why? Well, the acting was superb, but of course, then there's this guy, Johnny Williams. I mean...
Oh, Johnny, yeah.
The music.
Yeah, the music was great.
I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It was probably the greatest soundtrack for a classic television show, or any television show for that matter, ever.
Yeah. And you can hear it in his movies.
Oh, of course.
Hear it in the Indiana Jones movies. And E.T., you can hear echoes of what he did on Lost in Space.
Yes.
And almost exactly. And it sometimes, in bits and pieces in movies, Spielberg movies, that you said, wait a minute, I know that piece, and I met them. I was at the airport and at the baggage claim of all things. And a nice looking gentleman comes up to me and he said, "Are you Marty Kristen?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he's sort of with this group of people. And I thought, they're interesting people. Then, they look like they must be, from in film or something. Anyway, he came out from them and he said, "Well, I'm John Williams." And I said, "Oh my God, how wonderful. How lovely to see you, after so many years." And he said, "You're looking really good."
Oh, I got to agree with John there. I saw you just a couple of years ago. Yeah. You're ageless, by the way.
And I said, "Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that." And then he went back to his entourage. But I felt very uplifted by that, and he was so charming. I was amazed that he recognized me and came up to me. It was a real pleasure and a surprise.
And that's really interesting. I would have guessed maybe he had come to the set to get the feel of the show or whatever, and that you guys would have met prior to, or at least maybe during the show. But that never happened, is what you're saying.
Well, I'm sure he did, but he always, I'm sure he was just, in the background. He would get the dailies, of course, and then he would work from that. And I know I met him, but it wasn't, as a young person, you're 20, you're working, you're thinking about your lines, you're thinking about, all of the particulars of doing a scene, but I always wanted to go and watch them, watch the musicians, and so I did do that at one point. So and not on set,
right,
but at the studio, and that was fascinating because they play it. They keep playing it, and then watching the creative process of music going on was, to me, just exciting, and I'll anything that deals with the creative process I read about and try and absorb, and it was really fun.
That would have been, to be a fly on the wall for that would have just been,
yeah.
I mean, as a 40-year professional musician, I can tell you that man, he has a way with notes that is like, I am not going to be traditional whatsoever, or I'm going to be so traditional, it's just going to be two notes. Dun, dun,
yeah,
dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's a hit. What else you got? And then
Inarritu, the wonderful director. I mean, Birdman is one of my favorite movies.
Oh, yeah.
But he said that silence is the source of music. And to go off of Lost in Space for a minute, the one of my favorite movies, probably of all times, is the Banshees of Inisherin, and because that's partly what it's about. The Brendan Gleeson plays a man who is a musician, and just wants the silence.
Even if you have to chop his fingers off, he wants the silence.
Yeah, I know, but I know that's extreme. Duh.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm Irish, so I related to a lot of that movie, unfortunately.
I know you are. And McCormick, my God, how Irish can you be? And Pat, Patty. Did they call you Patty?
And it's McCormack, so...
Oh, McCormack, I'm sorry.
Someone coupled with a Scottish person somewhere along the line.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I know. Well, my mother-in-law, who said she was only Irish, was Burns. And, I'd tease her and I'd say, she said, "I'm Irish, completely Irish, all the way." And I'd say, there's a Scotsman in the woodshed there somewhere, but because Burns. So, and you find that even in Lost in Space, where there's silence, where the tension becomes so great. There's first that little, that worrisome, like, oh no, like in Jaws, oh no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't go into that realm. Don't go into that water.
Yeah.
And as a prelude, but then often it's the silence that where it's the scariest.
Sure.
Because the audience has to fill the emotion in at that point.
Yeah.
So anyway, Inarritu, it was brilliant when he said that. I said, I completely understand.
Yeah. Oh, it's been said. I think the term is music is not the notes; it's the space between the notes.
That's another way of saying it.
Yeah.
And it's in the listening. It's in the complete listening of the silence.
Right.
Where your brain starts to really hear the note. And in acting too.
Yeah.
Acting is exactly the same. That, for me, I will study and study and study a character, and this is more character acting than just being myself. But even being myself, that's probably the hardest thing. But where you're given a complicated story and many different layers, and I think and think and think about it, and then at some point I just stop thinking, and that's where the silence comes, and that's when the understanding comes.
Right.
So, that's
it's exactly the same. It is exactly the same.
This creative process.
Right.
Again.
And expression. Express yourself. And
yeah.
If you make a mistake, do it again, and they'll think you meant to do it.
That's right. That's right. I know. I was reading at church the other day, and I was wearing contact lenses, and the one that is for reading got something under it. And, and I lost my place in the reading, because we read from the book of readings, and fortunately I study all week, but I realized later that people had no clue that I had lost my place. It seemed like hours. It was probably like 2 seconds. But I'm sure they thought, oh, that was a wonderful dramatic pause.
Yes. Well, and again, you were saying just a little earlier that you were drawn to the darker, more dramatic, like me, scary, spooky stories. And of course, Lost in Space had plenty of that. Of course, what it morphed into was kind of almost the opposite of that. And that had legs too, but it didn't have enough Judy's legs, in my opinion.
Oh, well.
And but again, I can think back to some of the episodes that affected me the most, and that was seeing my beautiful big sister, who is just always love and joy and just even keel, playing opposite June, of course, who is the epitome of that, and then.
Right.
And then the attack of the monster plants comes on. And I'm like, what's happened to Judy?
Judy. Well, that was a wonderful episode for me, because I was able to play something that had some other layers, some other depths to it
Oh, you were terrifying.
Oh, I was. Oh, good. Good. I don't want any salad.
Exactly. And it was just such a contrast that it made it that much, this is all wrong.
Well, it was a bit of the bad, if you remember the movie, there was a play first, The Bad Seed. And it was a bit of that, this lovely young woman has become something other than that. And we all have the capability to be, I don't want to say bad, but well,
sure we do.
But sure we do. But we all have that capability to be angry and to be probably evil is the wrong word too. It's a little extreme, but
well, it's just a character, right?
I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I'm a dancer, and so going into The Flower was balletic to me. I said, oh, I can make this something rather than just sit down. I can make it, I can make it sort of a beautiful, becoming part of the plant.
Yes.
And, that was my challenge in that. And then sort of having a different persona,
Sort of.
Yeah.
That was night and day.
But trying to cover it,
right.
is always, the challenge. It's like playing drunk. Well, you're not playing drunk. You're not drunk. You're trying to not be drunk,
right.
Usually. And that's the old saw that acting teachers say, but it's the truth.
Right.
And it's the truth. Talk about Irish. as I said, my mother-in-law was Irish, and we'd go and visit her in Long Island, and she'd always have priests around her coming to dinner, and she was a widow by the time I met her, so there were priests and nuns there, and one priest was from South America, and he had seen Lost in Space, and we laughed about it and talked about when I played the evil Judy, and he said, "Oh, Marta," which do you like to play? You like to play good girl or bad girl? And I said, "Oh, Father, bad girl."
But just playing, not for real.
Just playing, not for real. No, I'm a nice person for real. But it is so interesting to play someone who is like I played Martha in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf,
right?
And in the play and in the theater, local theater, and it was so wonderful to play this woman who was an alcoholic and had this wonderful dame with her husband, and I mean this symbiotic game of love, hate, control. It was extraordinarily challenging, but great.
Right.
And the anger and the hatred and the vitriol that came from this woman, all because I took it because she was horribly unhappy with herself and insecure. And every time, George said something to Martha that has even a hint of criticism, she then has another drink, and then she looks at him and hates him more. Anyway, I'm digressing. Lost in Space had gave me an opportunity of a lifetime to be a part of on television when there were only 3 networks, so a very limited audience. And to have that exposure as a young person, as an actress, it was amazing. The weird part was that I walked around and people they were not like they are now, where they're rude or they. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I was in New York City and I was walking around the city. I was there for a convention, CBS convention, and I turned around. I saw this group of people following me, and it was sort of sweet. It was sort of like a little cloud, lovely light cloud following me. But they stayed, they kept 20 feet away. And I finally got to the hotel, and then they all came up to me and said, "Oh, Miss Kristen, can I have an autograph? I've got photos. And they actually had gone around the whole city with me. I mean, I'd gone up to the Empire State Building. I had done all the tourist things, and they were waiting for me when I came out. And okay, interesting. But they were so, they were just so gentle with me, and so unobtrusive, and I just felt, oh my God, how lovely to have them, and of course I signed everything they had, and spent some time talking with them, and I said, well, you could have come in with me, but they had all, of course, been there.
Well, I mean, I talked to a lot of folks that were on these classic shows, and of course, they all had the same take. Basically, it was a lot more. People were more considerate, and
yeah.
And now, I asked a lot of folks. You were there at a time when it was kind of perilous to be a star, which you were. I mean, you had plenty of roles prior to Lost in Space, Beach Blanket, Bingo. Come on, I mean, classic roles.
Well,
Eddie Haskell's girlfriend, which I can forgive you for now,
and Don Grady's girlfriend.
That you did better there, I think.
But listen, Tony Dow and I, God rest his soul, we did the first 2-parter on television, and it was a crossover, and it went from Dr. Kildare to 11th Hour, and it was about teenage pregnancy and abortion when you couldn't even say pregnant, practically. I mean, that was a word that was, carefully used in television at that time. And then to be about abortion, about self-abortion, trying to, it was called 4 Feet in the Morning. And now that was an amazing show. And, it was Jack Smythe directed it. It was really, really a remarkable show. And Tony was great to work with. He was one of the most pleasant and lovely people I have ever met. I mean, we had a lot in common, which I didn't find out until later I loved volleyball. He played volleyball. I loved sailing. I had a sailboat.
Flexible and athletic.
Yeah, and he loved working with wood. I love building things. Mm-hmm. I'm a tomboy, essentially.
No.
I digress again.
Well, no, I hit the nail on the head with him. I'm pretty good friends with Jerry and Teresa Mathers, and we were working together. I actually did some work for them on their website, and it was right at the time when Tony passed, and boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
What a storm.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is I did get to meet him, and he was just like you said, so down to earth, so proud of his firefighter son. And it's just,
And his art.
Oh, I know.
His art. His sculptures are just like breathtaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm an artist too. And I don't show my work, but I don't have enough. But because I take months to do something, but I'm sure he did as well. But it was really he was just a remarkable human being, and his wife Lauren is as well.
Yeah.
And I had been meaning to call her, but yeah.
They did a big get together in his honor at a convention in Tennessee. And from what I heard from another friend, Rich Carell, who was, also on the show, and it sounded like she was doing okay. So then again, I'm not in personal touch with him, so don't quote me on that. But I think she's.
Yeah.
I think she's.
Yeah. Oh, Tennessee. I think that. Yeah. I was invited to that, but.
Yeah, it was Galveston or Galveston. Well, anyway. So, yeah, again, folks, if you think it was just Judy Robinson, the fact is. Marta's been around, but for lack of a better term.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, appearances in roles of shows and film. Now, I'm way over explaining it. I think they got it. I think they got it.
And I also started a theater company. I was the founding member of and board of directors, member of the board of directors of West Coast Ensemble, which was voted by NPR as the best small theater company in Los Angeles. So, yeah, we did. So I did everything for that.
Los Angeles, there's no competition there. How did you do that? I don't know.
No, all the hundreds of small theater companies. But it was it was a wonderful experience, and we did some really good productions. So I'm very proud of that, and. I was in something where, I'm patting myself on my back.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, but saying that what was it? That I was that was a production called Wings, where I play a woman who's had a stroke. Anyway, the reviews all were amazing. Another one called Love Suicide at Schofield Barracks. That was the one at West Coast Ensemble that they compared me to Lee Volman and saying that, she stole the show. And, yeah.
And okay, I'll generally ask, and so what's your favorite genre, the people that I interview? And I've already picked up on what yours is. But then I would be like, well, and what is it? Theater, films, television? Every single person, theater.
It's apples and oranges, because there's a big difference when you've got a camera in your face. If you're not truthful, if you don't have something going on in your brain that is answering to the to the character, to the scene, if it's not truthful, it shows. On stage, you don't have to be truthful every single minute, but on film, you have to be, and because people pick up on it. And I mean, I try and be truthful in all venues, but people know the camera doesn't lie. And theater, the difference at theater, of course, is that you live a life for a whole one long 2 hours. I mean, which is a pretty long time being in character and keeping the intention going all the time. Film, you have breaks in between, where long breaks, where you have to keep in your head. And by the way, it's all broken up. It doesn't go in order like it does in theater. I think for the actor, it's more elevating to do theater. It's in that you live a life for 2 hours.
Sure.
And you have an audience. And by the way, in theater, you don't know whether something's going to work until the audience is there.
Right.
Because the audience feeds you. Where in film, you have to, it's more private. It's completely private. And you have to focus. Your focus has to be so all encompassing.
Yes.
You have to shut everybody out. You have to shut the camera out. You have to shut the people there who's standing there.
Yeah.
And you have to create a life. So it's different. It's different, but both venues are just exciting and heart-throbbing, experiences. Yeah. But sometimes when I go on stage and I know that it's going to be 2 hours where you can't go, oh, cut, let's take that over.
Get the Scrabble game out.
Yeah, right. I get sick to my stomach and I almost like vomit. And I go, why am I doing this to myself? Oh my God. And then I get on stage and it is magic. It is magic. And yeah.
So hence, Marta is in show business, folks. Yeah.
And I've loved acting my parents say that when I came off the airplane, I always tell this story about, they said that my mother told me that I came towards them walking like Charlie Chaplin in The Tramp. And they said, and they were both educators. So they said, an actress in the making. So they immediately got me into theater. And of course I didn't speak English. So I got into dance. They put me into dance. And, I just, just a way to find a way to express myself.
Yeah.
And, and I was different from everybody. And
yes, the problem was Marta was 10 times more beautiful, but she couldn't help it. So just
Oh, well, you're very kind. Not when I was 12. I had buck teeth. And I never had braces, but I was chubby, and you have that awful period in between adolescence and teenage years and post-adolescence, and most everyone has it. They're just like, oh God, who, that person,
right?
but yes, and I began to be very Scandinavian looking. That Finnish high cheekbone look. So almost the Sami look, the nomads of Scandinavia.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just drop dead gorgeous is how I describe it. But with that, it was obvious, though, that the dancing, and I noticed you got into gymnastics. As a matter of fact, I just saw a couple days ago on your Facebook page, by the way, belated happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Doing a handstand on the beach, perfect form. You know the one I'm talking about.
Oh, I do. And I was just going to go into a back bend.
And it sounded like you were glad you didn't. I don't know. I mean, I've tried to do a handstand on the beach before, folks. It's not usually the place you want to do it unless it's really hard sand.
Well, I loved gymnastics. I was a gymnast in middle school, and I just continued it. When I went into dance and jazz, and I'm still very active. I still do dance twice a week for 2 hours, and I hike every day. And you've got to keep yourself in shape.
Yes, that's been one of my usual go-to questions for folks that I talk to. We're not getting any younger. It was like, what are you doing? What are you doing to stay in shape? And again, after talking to George Chakiris, it's like, it's all about dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Dick Van Dyke, I think, would agree with that.
Dick Van Dyke. He's so wonderful. I just love that man. He brings joy wherever he is.
Yep. And that was his thing, dance every day.
Every day.
It'll keep you going.
I put on Dan the Man, and I danced to Dan and the Chieftain sometimes, and oh man, did I just dance around the house. Aww. My dogs all scurry under the bed. Go, oh, there she goes. There she goes.
It's the monster from the Phantom family again. Oh.
Right. What are her feet doing?
She's not acting the same. I don't like this.
No, that's scary.
Oh, well, that's just, you sound happy, Marta, and I'm really, really glad to hear that.
I'm happy to be talking with you. I'm happy to be talking about the show and about my career and about the creative process and looking out and seeing the wind carrying windboarding. Yeah, it's I miss my husband every second of every day, and we were soulmates and together for 43 years, and she was the love of my life. But I know that he would want me to be happy, and in order to be happy, you have to have purpose, and to have purpose, you have to reach out, and that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah.
And I have my days where I just can barely move, but then I tell myself, no, Kevin would not want me to be like this.
He must have been so reassured too, just by the simple fact that you are loved by so many people.
So I go on Facebook, and I think I've only had one awful message where they called me a Nazi, the C word.
Oh.
Yeah. I said, listen, I have 2 brothers who are in the FBI. They're going to find you, and you better watch your back. And it's true. My 2 brother-in-laws were in the FBI.
And of course, folks, they did find him. He's shackled underneath Marta's house. Nobody will know.
No one knows there. He's under my house. I hear these strange knocks once in a while. I just throw some red meat.
Well, now that I got your number, I know who to call if I ever get in any trouble. It's like, quick, call the FBI.
Quick. Yeah. But that otherwise, I go to conventions, and I eat, and on Facebook and on Instagram, and I feel the love, and I cry. I sit and cry because people are so beautiful. They're so lovely, and they send messages. I don't go on social media enough. I'm trying to do it more often now because
you gotta.
People deserve it.
Yeah.
And when they write to me, and my God, I take the opportunity now to thank everyone who sent me wonderful birthday messages, and oh my gosh, guys from the B9 fan club, Tom and Steve, sent me my favorite bottles of Prosecco, and they actually have personalized labels to Marta Kristen, the Jupiter too. I mean, it just, and Lori sent me flowers and candy, and I mean, it just, it astounds me. I've made these friends that are so caring and so good. They're good people, and I sound surprised, but I'm not. They're just delightful. So I want to thank. I don't want to be too airy-fairy about it, but I I'm just so happy to have that. And I do want to say that I moved from my beautiful house that Kevin and I built to a mobile home park. And my neighbor Vernon Wells from Road Warriors.
Oh,
he's my neighbor.
No kidding.
And no kidding. And I'm doing 3 movies with him. And he's delightful. His wife teaches yoga. She has her own dubbing business. Then the other side of me is a woman who taught sexology for years, lived in Brazil, knew Pele.
Wow.
Fascinating. And then behind me is Deborah Lattimore, who's an award-winning children's book writer, and she's helping me with my children's book. So, yeah.
Wow.
I'm blessed.
Yes.
I know that Kevin put me here because I'm surrounded by these, and it's a community. That's why I moved, because it's a community. You're not isolated here.
I'll tell you this. As soon as I told people, close folks, that I was interviewing them, the usual answer or the usual comment was, "Oh, I just love her."
Oh,
so,
yeah.
It's a pretty popular consensus.
Just don't cross me.
Yes.
Don't cross me.
No, FBI. Uh-huh.
I don't want any salad.
Yeah, no salad. My brother's in the FBI. No.
My 2 brother-in-laws are in the FBI, and really, if I needed them, I'm not kidding, they would be there. They would. Well, one passed away from COVID last year. He had been ill for a while, and he developed COVID, but he was wonderful.
We'll all be there for you forever. I mean, that's...
Thank you. I feel that.
It's one of those things where I'm making the new friends. You're never too old to make new friends, and it's just...
And you must.
That's true. I agree. Well, this has just been fantastic. There was so much more that I was thinking we could talk about, but we really it just flowed, and I just loved that. You're such a warm, genuine person. Yeah, I mean, what you see is what you get, folks.
That's right. Exactly.
and with that, I want them to see what you're doing. Your website, Variations on a Theme. You got to love that. The Many Faces of Marta Kristen.
Yeah.
Now that's a website title. It's martakristen.com that folks can find your main.
Yeah. Or I don't go on there, but I go on Facebook, and
your handle on that is just Marta Kristen.
Marta Kristen. Well, there's various ones. I didn't know what I was doing when I set things up, but it's
welcome to my world. Go ahead.
Oh my God. So Marta Kristen Kane. Kane is my married name. And so there's Marta Kristen Fan Club, Marta Kristen Appreciation Club, Marta Kristen. But if you just go to Marta Kristen Kane, you'll see me.
Great. And you're on Instagram too, correct?
I'm on Instagram.
And that would be just that lady's name, Marta Kristen.
Right. And I think I have IMBD. I did have. I haven't checked for a long time. I've been so... I'm busy. I'm just busy. I'm always in class of some kind, or I'm going to start guitar, and I want to learn Spanish.
Okay.
So
now you've done it. And you can express yourself as much on those as you can an electric guitar. Not so much of a steel string acoustic guitar. You can express yourself on that too, but it only makes you wish you had an electric guitar in your hand, at least me. When I pick up the classical guitar, it's a different game. It's a whole new world. You're using your fingers. You're touching the strings. You're not picking them. And in that way, you really connect with it. And so, yes, I highly recommend you do that.
Yes. Well, I'm going to.
Too. You ever need any pointers? It was.
I will call you for sure.
I used to boast I've given hundreds of students thousands of lessons, and that ain't no lie. So
I'm sure. Well, good for you. Good for you.
Well, thank you.
You know, music is the universal language.
It is.
And without it, we're nothing. So.
But enough about Johnny Williams. What does he know?
What does he know? Right. Well, he's made a lot of people happy. So.
Yeah, I think the Oscars tell the story too.
Yeah,
How
that's
many?
right.
50 something.
Oh my God! Oh God, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Marta, thanks so much. I'm going to let you get on with your day and play with your puppies and work on Molly's garden and.
I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to have lunch, and then I am going to go on my computer, and I have an audition that I have to prepare for. So, you're now doing everything at home. So I've got lights, and I've got I have to do it on my phone, and I've got a backdrop. I wish somebody would be here to help me fold the backdrp, the back. It's the kind of screen. Never mind.
Yes,
anyway.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I do home green screen filming constantly.
Oh yeah,
it's a full production facility here.
Somebody should take a video of me trying to fold it. It's got to be a comedic ballet. It's just got to be
perfect. Put a couple dance moves in it, and it'll look
right. I will. I'll throw some dance moves in it. I'm gonna do that.
My God,
I am going to do that, and I will post it on Facebook.
It's going to go viral.
Pat, you are delightful, and I appreciate your asking me to do your show, and I hope to see you again someday.
Didn't count on that. I'm going to be one of those people that will be walking 20 feet behind you through the streets of New York, but not actually coming and running up to you because
you'll be my walking cloud.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you again, and good luck on all your future endeavors.
Thank you. There are a lot of them. Oh, and I have something coming out called A Bachelor's Valentine.
Yes.
So that will be out soon.
Yeah.
It's just going into distribution now. So thank you so much. I loved it.
With that, Marta Kristen, thank you again.
Thank you, Pat.
There you have it, another Retro TV Radio episode in the books. Be sure to go to Marta Kristen's official website, martakristen.com, and check out all the cool information she has there. Also, you can follow Marta on Facebook and Instagram at Marta Kristen Kane. That's Kane with a K. You'll also find more links to her other official fan pages in the episode description. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast and maybe leave me a positive rating and review. Also, tell as many friends and family as you can about it. You can follow me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Golden Rage of TV, and on Twitter at Golden Rage of TV1. I'm your host, Pat McCormack, and thanks for listening to Retro TV Radio.